Yes, live from the lab, CP3 coming to you from Sports on the Hill podcast, episode 90, Capitals Talk. Robbie, Rose, Gil, and Bernie will be joining us soon. Today we had the trade deadline. If you tuned in yesterday on my page, which I tagged in the show page, you saw a little NHL trade deadline talk that myself and Gil had. Talking about the prospect of the Caps making some more moves today. Robbie, we had a conversation earlier, with the trade rumor with Mike Green wanting to either go back to the Capitals or go on to Tampa Bay. And I was hoping that they wouldn't make that move, and luckily they didn't. I'm happy about that because we've had that debate going back and forth for the last 2 weeks, and I thought it would be a mistake if they did pick him back up, but fortunately they didn't. We spoke about the new defenseman Kempley, I believe his name is. He played well in the game against Buffalo. We still haven't seen the young kid from Montreal. He hasn't played yet, so the defense played better in that game against Buffalo. Granted, Buffalo isn't offensive powerhouse, and Evander Kane, who got traded today, he didn't play in the game. But the fact that when they did get that goal to make it a 2-1 game, the Caps didn't get back on their heels like they had been doing previously. They pushed it forward, and Andre scored that hell of a goal that we'll break down later on to, push them to victory. But if you've already shared the group, we can go to the group. We can go ahead and start breaking down these games before we get Gil and Bernie on at his trade deadline round table.
Yeah, I just finished sharing to a bunch of the groups. So if anyone wants to join in, they can also find it on Carol Porter's Facebook page as well, or in pretty much every Capitals group that I'm in. So I know a lot of you guys are in some of the same groups, so you can go check out that right now and chime in, and we'll take your questions there as well. We're going to start off, I believe, last week. The first game was the Tampa Bay game, right? It's Tampa Bay at Washington. It wasn't a particularly great game for us. We had talked about the Washington at Buffalo game last week, so technically that was a last week game, but we talked about it because of the President's Day game. So if you want to check that out, check out episode 89, and then so you can check out a recap of that 3-2 victory. But the first game since our last podcast is that Tampa Bay game. Unfortunately, Tampa Bay scored 3 times in the first period. Got Braden Point, Chris Kunitz, always our enemy, and then Point again. It made it 3-0, so they scored 2:30, 16, and 17:52 into the first. Lars Eller got one back for us on the power play, an assist to Dmitry Orlov and Brett Conley. It's Eller's 12th goal. Assists, the Orlov was his 14th, and Conley is 6th. Made it 3-1. Ovechkin tried to help us with 8 in the comeback. Made it at 11:02. He scored his 36th goal of the season. Matt Niskanen got his 15th assist. Made it 3-2. And I will be fully transparent. This is the moment I turned on the game. So I heard the goal line go off. I had been out. I ran downstairs. I was like, what happened? I turned it on, see the replay, and almost immediately Nikita Kucherov does the same play on Braden Holtby that he did during the All-Star game, where he thinks that he's going to bring the puck wide, and then he slips it right under the 5-hole. Unfortunately, that made it 4-2, and really stifled our comeback. What were some of your thoughts, Carol?
Yeah, that was an ugly game. It continued the trend of the Capitals giving up early goals quick in games. They scored with 2 minutes and 30 seconds into the game. It was a power play goal, granted, but they can't continue to put themselves in these holes and expect to dig themselves out on a regular basis. They have to start playing ahead of the game and not playing catch up all the time. You're not going to be successful in the NHL playing catch up all the time.
I totally agree. It was frustrating that they fell behind. Frustrating because I wasn't watching, and then I was like, oh, we're coming back. Maybe I'll run home this one time to catch the end of the game. And then I heard the goal horn. I was like, oh, it must be a sign. Right as I walked in the man cave, it went off. I was like, all right, let's see what's up. and then immediately I was disappointed. So I didn't even get to enjoy it for like a minute. So that was kind of frustrating. But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. Unfortunately, Tampa Bay made a lot of moves at the trade deadline. I know we'll talk about that in a minute. We'll see if it makes them better or worse. They got one of the players that we wanted. So it'll be interesting to see how the trade deadline shakes up some of these teams. I know that the Bruins have been playing pretty well. They made a bunch of moves. A lot of people online at least already think that it's going to screw up their chemistry. Pittsburgh made a couple of moves as well. And I see that Ken had a question. What time was Wizards talking? It's 7:45. So yeah. So maybe he might be able to join us. I know he went to one of the Wizards games. Unfortunately, it wasn't the best of the 3 games. In fact, it was our only loss. But we'll get into that in the Wizards talk. Yeah, let's move on from this Tampa Bay game unless there's something specific that you want to talk about.
Nah, let's get into this next game. That was a game against Florida. That was a very emotional game. I'll let you go ahead and break down the score, and we can talk about that game.
Yeah, so, Florida, by the way, the puck just dropped. There's about 17:33 in the first period of the Washington-Columbus game. We'll be monitoring that game as well. Just wanted to let people know that the puck had indeed dropped. Carol, do you know if it's Holtby or, I can't tell. It looks like it is Holtby right now.
Yeah, it's Holtby. He's in there. He's trying to get back on track after Ruby played as well as he did the other day. So hopefully, Holtby can get back to his old self.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so unfortunately, Holtby gets scored really early in this game that we're talking about right now, the Florida game. He scored 4:50 into it. They took the 1-0 lead. Lars Eller has just been on fire. I'm so happy we re-signed him. 13th goal of the season set to Brett Conley, his 7th, and Burakovsky's 9th. Made it 1-1. Burakovsky scored a goal himself at 9:56 in the second period. It's his 7th of the season on the power play. Ovechkin's 32nd assist made it 2-1. I have to say I was very excited going into the third period, and I was very disappointed because with just about 5 minutes left in the game, we were still up 2-1. And I thought, oh man, this has got to be one of those games where we can just lock it down, and we didn't. They scored at 16-18, made it 2-2 game, and then all of a sudden they got a power play at the very end of the game, and at 19:40 they took the lead on that power play, made it 3-2, and 20 seconds was not enough time for us to come back again. So that was a really frustrating game again, because I really thought we were going to win that one, and we were going to win a game 3-2 or something along those lines. But Florida, who's had an up-and-down season, was able to turn it on in the end and get a big victory over us. Again, this game was in Florida. What were some of your thoughts, Carol?
Well, if you didn't tune in for the game, that was the first game in Florida since the shooting happened in Parkland. Roberto Luongo, the goalie for the Panthers, his children actually go to the middle school that's not too far from the school that happened. So they had a real emotional ceremony before. They had a great singing of the national anthem by a young Mexican-American kid, to the point where I was in this joint emotional watching it, and I was watching the game trade, and one of the groups that you posted game trade in, and someone had chimed in and like, there's no way the Caps are going to be able to pull this game off with the emotional, tide that's going on in that building. And like you mentioned at the end of the game, you thought the Caps was going to find a way to get the point, but that emotional tide found a way into that game, and that late goal was very disappointing. But on the bigger scale, you kind of had a feeling that it was going to go that way for Florida that night. They needed that, in that area with everything that had gone on. And it was a good game. Unfortunately, the Caps came out on the short end without getting the point, but it was a good game. It came down to a late puck. We've had a couple of late game winners, so, it goes both ways sometimes. Unfortunately, they came out, the Caps on the losing end this time without getting the point.
So true. So frustrating. a lot of people were like, oh, I'm kind of happy that they won that game because of with all the emotions or whatnot. I'm like, that's fine. I don't think I would necessarily been upset. I realized losing that game if we got trounced with a lot of momentum from the beginning. They had taken the lead, but the fact that we were winning with 5 minutes left in the game, I kind of thought that it was all over, and obviously it's never all over until the very end. I didn't like how we lost that game. It was less that, like, we were going to win and lose some games throughout the season, and especially games that have high emotion, but I don't like losing games where you're leading with 5 minutes remaining. That's just really, really frustrating to me. We've got the next game is the New York game. I was going to bring in one of our guests in to help break this down with us as well. I'm going to go through the scoring real fast, and then I'll let you, Carol, and our first guest, Gil. I see that Bernie's had a little connection problem, so hopefully I'll be able to figure that out. But we'll bring Gil in just a second here to break down this really important game on Saturday. So the scoring was, so again, I wasn't able to watch it live. I was at that concert I mentioned earlier. But Kuzi scored 50 seconds in, so 17th goal of the season. Brett Conley's 8th. Dmitry Orlov's 15th assist. Burakovsky, who I know that you've been ragging on a bunch over the last couple months, but I heard you turned a corner. I watched the video last night with Gil. I thought Gil and you did a fantastic video. Shout out to the trade deadline special, and check it out on Carol or Gil's page. It was a really great video, and I hope that we can recreate some of that magic tonight. But I heard that you had come back and said Andre Burakovsky's been playing better, which he has been. So it was his 8th goal of the season, assist to Kuzi, his 40th assist of the season. Another guy who we were ragging on a little bit, but he's turned it on, especially in the assist category lately. Matt Niskanen, his 16th assist. They got a goal back in the third, so the Burakovsky was 13-20 in the second. They got one 14 seconds in the third, which frustrated me because here we were again at 2-1. I was like, oh God, don't let it happen again. But our captain scored his 37th goal of the season, power play goal. John Carlson's 37th assist, which is fantastic from a D-man. Kuzi's 41st assist at 10-13, made it 3-1. Lars Eller was able to score an empty netter assist to Chase on. So that was his 5th assist of the season. Matt Niskanen 17th. And Ovechkin got another goal, 38th of the season. John Carlson's 38th assist. And Kuzi's 42nd assist made it 5-1. I do have an unfortunate scoring update from the game that we're watching live. Joe, did you watch what happened?
Yeah, if you're watching the Facebook Live feed, you saw my face when I saw the power play. I had a feeling it wasn't going to turn out well because, once again, it's early in the game. Orlov with a holding call, which, in my opinion, was unnecessary. And they give up another early goal with 14 minutes left in the first, and they're forced to play catch-up again. So I thought they, like I said, Buffalo isn't an offensive powerhouse. Columbus just made a move at the deadline. And they're hungry. So, and it looks like the Cap have a delayed penalty coming up. Looks like.
Yep, delayed penalty, exactly the right call. And right now we're playing 6-on-5, so we're going to keep it here in this live game. Booming shot from the point, pass back, John Carlson again, and Ovechkin another booming shot, not deadened. Oh wow, what a great pass! Kuzi tried to get it. And through a seam pass, unfortunately, they touched it up. I think he said interference. I'm not quite sure what I didn't see the hand gesture. But so after this commercial break, if you're watching live, we'll have a chance in the power play to tie this game. Again, it's 1-0 against us. It's been weird. We've been scoring. We've scored first for Grubauer lately, and been scored against first a lot with Holtby, which is kind of a little bit of the opposite that was happening earlier in the season, where Grubauer was not getting the scoring support that he needed. So it's kind of a weird time. But anyway, let's bring in Gil. I see that Bernie's got his connection figured out. So we're going to bring in Gil first from the Power Play Point podcast. We had his co-host on last week, Anna. So we're going to bring in Gil first. I loved your Facebook Live that you did with Carol yesterday. I know that you did a Facebook Live that I was unfortunately at work. I didn't get a chance to see earlier today about the trade deadline, but we really appreciate you for joining us tonight.
Thanks a lot, Robbie, and I really appreciate you and Carol having me on again. Just want to say real quick, sorry we couldn't have Anna on, but like you said, she's unfortunately feeling under the weather. So I would love to do the show with her, but great that we could do this with you guys and Bernie.
Yeah, sounds good. We're going to bring in Bernie real quick right now, and Bernie's been on the show before, and we thought you'd be a great person. You stepped up last night. We really appreciate that. Bernie, how are you doing tonight?
Simple replacement is good. Other than the fact that the Caps won nothing, and that we were completely quiet to trade the line,
You bring up a little bit, but I got the gist of it. You're not happy with us standing pat at the trade deadline. But we'll get into that talk in just a couple of minutes. I wanted to get Carol's take first, and then I want to get both of your guys' take on the big game from Saturday. Carol, why don't you give your opinion first?
Well, like we broke down on the, that's a power play goal to tie the game up before we even get into it by Ovi from the top of the Ovi office, making it a 1-1 game with 13:03 left in the first. That shot is just that shot is just deadly, man. I feel sorry for a defenseman that got to try to block that shot on the power play, and he has time and space. It wasn't even time and space. It was right in his wheelhouse, a perfect pass, and he just hit it home on the one-timer. Oh, wow. Stick side, not even across his body. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Way away, gentlemen. Way away from the big 600. He's trying to get there before this 1,000th game. Not many players have ever done that. He's trying to do a really rare club of 600 goals with one franchise, as well as having 500 assists. Has that been done by anybody to have both before 1,000 points? Do you guys know, Bernie or Gil?
You mean for 1,000 games? I believe the stat I showed you before. I think it was like 2 other players that have reached that. I can't remember who. I'm gonna have to go back and look it up.
Well,
So then ever gotten 600 goals with one team, 500 assists with the same team, and before the 1,000th game.
oh goodness, 1,000 game. It's kind of a tough one. You'd have to think about somebody that's played that many seasons, that many games, and scored that quickly.
I think Solani.
I can't think of anybody.
I think Teemu Solani was one of them.
Maybe. Gretzky, I don't know. But
he never got to 600
late too. Yeah, exactly. Not with one team. No.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's done it with one team. So I think one or two players have done it with
one team.
Yeah, well, that would be pretty impressive if we can do it. Anyway, so back to the game on Saturday. I know Carol was starting to break it down. Carol, did you finish what you were saying? Or
I never even got a chance. That power play goal was ridiculous. I didn't even get a chance to.
It went right back.
Now, remember with the conversation we had about Hopi last night about him not looking back, man. I don't know what's going on with Hopi, but he just not looking like he. I don't know, man. Something going on in his head right now. Because he's not looking like himself at all. He's been letting in a lot of weak goals. I think they said he gave up 4 goals in 3 games straight for the first time in his career. But he's not himself. That's horrible.
He was not ready for that shot.
That's horrible.
Not ready for that shot.
That's horrible. Before we get into this game, let's go ahead and get to this. But we can sit here and go back and forth on this. But like I mentioned, it was definitely good to see the Caps get a push back. That Andre goal going in the end after they scored and made it a 2-1 game, and it was going back and forth through that whole second. That was a game-changing moment that we needed and looked like we're going to need again in this game with the way Hopi's letting in these weak goals. But it was definitely good to see the push back. It was good to see the new defenseman from Chicago get in there. He played strong. He was quick on the puck, got the puck out the zone, and was moving the puck well. He even made Orpin look fast out there. You know that's hard to do. And it was just a solid, like I said, they're not an offensive firepower, but they made a solid effort to play defense, and we're going to definitely have to step up the way Hope's letting in some of these goals that he normally wouldn't. So they definitely got to play better sound defense tonight. What did you think about that game, Bernie? I know me and Gil chopped it up a little bit about it. Let's see what your perspective is, Bernie.
Well, the Buffalo game, I mean, it was good to shoot the off the spot 6 minutes. I mean, you get people off their heels in the first minute, 1-0. It's on the pressure. So a team like Buffalo, who's going to be in flux, I mean, you didn't know who's going to be on the roster after Monday with being another playoff season and being without Kane and Eichel. It definitely puts them shorthanded right off the bat, especially going down 1-0. You see what the Caps love about Andre Burke, the way he did on this goal, that consistency. That's why I was hoping into later, where I was hoping they were going to have that Burkowski Connolly underline that was cooking so well last year to get into a flow. That you reline deep with scoring punch when it comes to playoffs, especially with everyone floating up on line. Good to see Burkowski starting to have again.
Hey, Bernie, see if you can get a better signal. You fading in a lot there, buddy.
I know between the zone and the much reception, I mean, that two-thirds of a really bad wall, I guess. Outside of the maybe some nice field better be another will happen when I go out there.
Well, Nicky just made a bad call and made a bad connection on this penalty. Now he's in the penalty box with Columbus up 2-1 and now going back to the power play. And Nicky's one of our stronger penalty killers, so that's definitely going to make it a tougher task for the leaky Braden Hope right now.
Well, Carol, I thought that he had a moment there in the fourth against Simon Trotek.
Yeah, Bernie, we really losing you, man. See if you can call back or see if you can get a better signal. You're fading in and out big time now. We're going to see if we can get you a better signal. Gil, we
be more.
Say that again. Yeah, he's in a. I don't know. I have no idea where he's at, Robbie. But Gil, we broke down the Buffalo game. What were your initial thoughts and what are your feelings about this game right now with Hopi looking like the way he is? We mentioned the rumor of them shopping Hopi possibly, and letting Grubauer go the way he was playing his last 3 starts. He's won all 3 of them. He's been on point. He was getting, peppered in that third period, and he stood up tall. What do you take away from this early showing from Braden in this first period right now?
Well, I've been watching him closely. In the first 5 minutes, he actually looked good. Made a couple decent saves, and then I don't know. Like you said, a couple times, all it takes is that first goal, and then everything just lets down. They gave up the first goal again, and they just the whole team just lets down. And I think it's a matter of I don't know what it is with this team, but it's a mental thing. It's a confidence thing. It's like they don't feel like they can win unless they score first and dominate. And I think that's the problem with this team. They got to get out of that mentality. They got to dig down deep and be tough and realize that if they give up the first goal in the first period, it's not the end of the world. And part of that comes from coaching, but part of that also comes from a belief in your teammates. And I just don't see it. And I think that's what Holtby's problem really is. But you're right, he's not playing like what we're used to seeing. And I think it's entirely a mental thing.
Yeah, something's definitely on his mind because he isn't looking as sharp. He isn't, like I said yesterday, he doesn't have that same edge or that same so-called swagger that he normally has. And it's definitely affected his team. That's why when I saw that rumor come up, I thought it was interesting because the way he has been playing lately, I say about the last month, he hasn't looked like himself and hasn't looked as crisp. I don't know if it's because he isn't getting as much work as he was the year before because, Trotz has tried to keep him rested for the playoffs and not playing as much as he had the previous 2 seasons. But obviously something isn't right, and I know Mitch Korn is still with the organization, not necessarily the goalie coach, but maybe him and Mitch need to have a conversation because he's not the Braden Holtby, the Vezina trophy winner that I'm used to seeing.
Maybe that's what I was just thinking the same thing. Maybe that's what it's going to take is a conversation with his old coach. And Mitch is very, very good, has been always at the mental aspect of the game, getting and the preparation part, which is key for any goalie. So I think, unfortunately, I don't want to disparage the current goalie coach, but I don't know. Maybe that's what it's going to take. Just maybe 1 or 2 conversations with his old coach, just to see what's going on in his head, because maybe he's the only one that can get to him.
I don't know, Robbie. I know you over there probably biting your tongue when we talking about Braden like this. I know how much of a fan you are. You know he won me over, but you know if you don't produce, you know I'm going to call you out. So what do you have to say about this these first 2 goals that he's given up in this game?
Well, I mean, they're horrible. We've already talked about how bad those 2 goals are. But, goalies go through ups and downs. I'm not going to, sugarcoat it and be like, Braden's always playing great. He's given up 4 goals in 5 straight games or something. So, I can't really sugarcoat it too much. And meanwhile, Grubauer's, standing on his head. And the reality is, it's the best player who's going to get to play in the playoffs. And if it, this would shock everybody, but if it ends up being that Grubauer's playing better leading up to the playoffs, I say play Grubauer. See what you've got. He's $1 million goalie. He's team, Germany's regular goalie. I know that they got silver, I guess it is, without him, but still, he's a great goalie. He's the reason why they're even on the international scene in a lot of tournaments. And he's probably one of the best backup goaltenders in the league. So if it comes down to it, he's playing great, and Braden's not. I say you put him in the playoffs, and you see what happens. And I wasn't one of those people at the same time being like, Holtby is low right now, so let's sell him at the trade deadline. There was a lot of that, and I was like, I couldn't get behind that move. Like, I get that he's having a bad couple of weeks, but who's to say in 2 weeks he doesn't become back to his dominant self? Maybe we can get Mitch Korn, who I know is in attendance at one of the games, watching him, and is still involved in the franchise. Maybe he can come back and shore up some of these issues. So it's not like, I believe Mitch Korn's still part of our franchise. So whether or not he's the actual coach or not, I think that he could still come back and coach him up a little bit. He's not gone. It's not like we have to get him from another team. So I don't know. I think a lot of people are quick to just throw players under the bus when they're having a bad. I mean, think about how bad Burakovsky and Kuzi were playing just 3 weeks ago and how we were ragging on them, and now they're playing great. So, I mean, 3 weeks, a lot can change, and there's still so much of the season left. And I think, in retrospect, you were right on a lot of things where I think we made 2 good moves at the trade deadline to get defensive players. One of them we haven't even seen play yet because of visa issues. And so, let's see how they pan out. Like, we got them for pretty good deals. Meanwhile, everyone who made moves today at the trade deadline, was paying, out their ass. And it's just like, I'm not willing to give up 3 to 4 players and 2 picks, for, some players that could potentially be over the hill in a year or 2. Or even in Mike Green, unless we're sure that he's going to sign an extension, I don't want to give up too much for a rental. And if the cost was too high, I see a lot of people, a lot of caps groups that were complaining. They were like, we got to do something. We had to do something. This is the time. We're wasting Ovechkin. Well, what about the 2 moves we made last week? Isn't that doing something? Like, that was our big problem was on the defensive end. I think, maybe we just are going to have to play Groovy more until Holtby gets his act together. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, I always say go with the high goalie, but Groovy has definitely looked, more steady in goal. That game against Buffalo, he played very well, made some stellar saves, and he made those saves that Holtby normally does that he hasn't been making lately. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the rest of this game if the Caps can get an answer before this first period is over. That's a whole different ball game and going into the second, down 2-1. And now it's 3-1 after a horrible turnover in front of Holtby. And they went 5-0, and Columbus has a 3-1 lead with 5:28 left in the first period. I think it's time to bring in Groovy. What do you think, Gil? I think it's time to bring Groovy in. What do you think?
Well, like you said, it was a horrible turnover in front. I don't think you can blame Holtby too much on that one. Although now that I'm looking at the replay again. Yeah. Okay. Well, all right. So if you look at it, yeah. Okay. So it's actually, I'm trying to get the number. Backstrom actually deflected it to the Columbus score. So really not a whole lot Holtby could do on that one.
I understand, but he was at the 5-hole again. It's becoming a pattern, and I just don't get your stick down. I don't know. It keeps on happening. It's happened now twice, and then once when they got it around him, but he's not seeing the puck clearly. I agree with Carol that before this game gets out of hand, look about it and see if he can come back from a 3-1 game, because it's just. Holtby's got to learn you don't get to sort of finish a game when you put us in holes like this. Like, I'm not a big fan of pulling goals, and maybe you wait until the intermission. There's only 5 minutes left, and it might be easier to do it, but I don't know. I think the defense plays terribly on that play, but at some point, Holtby had to stop one of these 3 to make it a 2-1 game. He stopped none of them.
Yeah, 2 of them looked like he was out of position. The other one, okay, I chalk it up, but you're in Columbus. That crowd is going crazy. They got the momentum. If they give them another goal before the first, this game is pretty much over. That's why I say go ahead. I would have go ahead and pulled them after that goal. I'd have called a timeout, got themselves together, and put Groovy in the game. That's what I'd have done. But we're going to see what happens. Hopefully he can get more steady. But he's fighting the puck. You saw on that stop right there. After he made the stop, he had no idea where it was at. He's not seeing the puck well at all. And we have some fisticuffs about to happen. Yeah, I knew it was going to get tipped. With my man Wilson out there, that's what I'm talking about. Somebody going to pay. Somebody going to pay.
I agree. I wouldn't call it a timeout per se, but just even having a goalie change kind of gives you a free timeout, and so I would have utilized that to maybe shake stuff up a little bit. But I don't know if I would compound it with a timeout, because at this point, if the goalie change makes it close, you may want the timeout for later, but it's painful. I hate that they keep on replaying that goal. But it's been a rough first period for sure. I know that we only have about 7 more minutes of Caps talk, so I wanted Gil to give his final thoughts, and then he broke down a pre-last day breakdown with you yesterday. Gil, what were some of your thoughts? Do you think the same pat with all the crazy contracts that were being traded around, or do you think that we should have pushed harder for a move?
Well, I mean, it comes down to this. As much as we might have, wanted and I said this on one of my live broadcasts earlier today, as much as we might have all wanted the ooh and the ah of the big splash move, it just wasn't going to happen. The cap space wasn't there. The management was not willing to pay the price that the team was for. I mean, they went after some big names. We're talking Eric Carlson. We're talking Ryan McDonough. Pretty big names. 2 guys that are pretty close to the top of the game. That's going to cost you a lot. And there just wasn't any way they were going to meet the price for those type of guys. So we've got no choice but to be satisfied with the smallish moves that they made. And sometimes that's really all you need is to make a little tweak. Time's going to tell. The only way we're going to learn is to watch this team over the course of the next few weeks and see if that was enough. But, I mean, we've been dominating the conversation is the goalie situation. And they've got to do something about this before, like you both said, before it gets out of hand. And it's starting to get out of hand. So we can talk shoring up the defense all we want. That trade deadline's come and gone. We've got what we've got, and that's it. Now they have to focus on improving the defense overall and shoring up this goalie situation, which is starting to spiral out of control.
Blues Gill?
I'm still here.
Oh, okay, my bad. I got caught up in. I had to. This game has me frustrated. I had to switch the game to the small TV and put the NBA on the big TV. This game has lost the big screen privileges so far. We're going to see if they can come back from that. But I agree with you with that, Bill, that we have what we have. We made the two moves and got the guys that, are going to help our D. The offense is playing well. Andre has woken up. He said he feels healthy. He feels, his wrist is good. He's skating well. Kuzi has been on fire. Ovi has been being Ovi. Like I mentioned, I feel that TJ Oshie is the X factor. If he can get going, and everybody else continue doing what they're doing. Robbie mentioned Lars Eller. Connolly's been playing well. It's all about the secondary scoring when it gets to the playoffs. So if everyone can get going at the right time, that's a plus in my book and can only help this team in the playoffs.
Yeah, I just had another quick thought. This keeps going, and they don't do anything about the goalie situation and start to settle on Grubauer more. They're going to have to rely more on the offense. So we're going to have to go back to the old Bruce Boudreau days where we won games 7-6 and 8-7 all the time. They're going to have to rely on the offense to bail them out night after night. And I don't know if that's going to work in the playoffs. That's what I'm worried about.
That never works in the playoffs. It's a tighter call game. You don't get that much space and opportunity because the game is much more chippy. The stakes are raised, and it's a whole different atmosphere in that playoff series. So, and you're playing, the same team seven games or 4 games in the start in a quick span. So it's a whole different ball game. They have to get that fixed now before they get to the playoffs, or the playoff run will be short and sweet.
All right, so there's an interference call now. So unfortunately, we're in the box. Brooks Orpik, I believe. Yeah. So that's not helping us at all. This game is just not going our way tonight. But we'll see how it goes. I wanted to quickly just talk about the games that were upcoming this week before we end our Caps talk. And I wanted to mention that Bernie commented on your Facebook Live, Carol, that he's having trouble with his Android phone, but he thinks it's been a terrible first 10 minutes, bad penalty, has been benched, being beaten to the slot area by a guy who's been benched by Torres at a time. So, but anyway, I appreciate him for making the attempt. I'm sorry that it didn't work out tonight, but hopefully we'll find the time to get him back on in a future show. I wanted to go ahead and look at the upcoming schedule here real fast, and then we're going to have Tim live in the man cave. We also have Brian Brennan, who's going to be joining me on the phone to talk about the Washington Caps. We may even have another guest as well. Tomorrow is sort of a back-to-back, so we play Ottawa in Washington, so that'll be an interesting game. And then when is our next game? It's a little bit. It's hold on, I'm pulling it up right now.
It's 4. Robbie, it's 4-1, man. It's 4-1 in the first period with 1:43 left. It's 4-1.
Well, it gave us great updates throughout the rest of this game, right?
I think it's going to go from the second TV to the no TV in the lab pretty soon.
Yeah, I don't really blame you. So Ottawa's the Tuesday game, 7 o'clock. And we have a game all the way until Saturday. That's why I was having trouble finding it. It's going to be that outdoor game. It's going to be against Toronto, 8 o'clock. Real quick, Gil, before we let you go, your quick 2-second take on that Toronto outdoor game.
Well, Carol and I were talking about this the other night. I think the Caps just need to relax and have fun with it. It's not like they've never done an outdoor game before. It's going to be an event. Just relax and have fun with it. Try to just keep to their game and don't make too much out of it. And that's all I have to say about that.
And Cal, your quick thoughts on playing the back-to-back and playing Ottawa tomorrow, and then we're going to move on to Wizards talk, since Caps talk has gone so swimmingly for us.
I'm stuck on 4-1, Robbie. I'm not even going to talk about the upcoming schedule because I'm pissed that it's 4-1 on our live in-game Facebook Live. Why is it that when we go live for these games, sometimes it turns out this way, Robbie? I'm upset about that. I'm not even going to speak on the upcoming schedule because I'm so disgusted with this game right now.
I don't blame you. All right, we'll break down that Ottawa game next week, and we'll also talk about that outdoor game as well. Well, Gil, I'm sorry. I know we have one game with you that we've done live. I know that we've lost a couple as well, but we really do appreciate you for helping us break down the trade deadline talk as well as the week that was. And I hope the people give the Power Play Point podcast a follow. I'll definitely be sure to do a little recap post of the time codes of tonight's game. It's almost 5-1. We'll talk about, we'll definitely link your new page in as well as the new group that I like that you guys have created. I hope to come on your show sometime soon as well. But we really appreciate you taking your time, Gil.
Oh, absolutely. Always a pleasure, and thanks to both of you guys once again for having me on. And we'll definitely hook up down the road.
All right, good. Yeah, good night. Appreciate it, man. This game is very disappointing, but we'll talk to you later, man. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, so I really appreciate everyone should give the Power Play Point podcast a follow, and he's great. He's the Blue Runner on point. We also have his co-host on the previous week on episode 89, Anna from the Power Play Point podcast.